parent are there to help your child develop good sleeping habits and to coach your child toward positive sleeping practices. You're going to be right there with your child, positively reassuring and supporting them the entire way through. And everything that we're going to lay out here will help to facilitate that and really set your child up for success. And to give you a little bit of a reference, both of our kids were sleeping about 8 hours a night continuously by around 2 months old. And then sleeping the full 12 hours at night by 3 months old. So I know these strategies work, and I know the way that they have completely blessed our kids and our family. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Carnahan Fam. My name is Kaylee Carnahan. I've got 2 sweet kids, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, who have both been wonderful sleepers since they were itty bitty babies. Some may call it luck, but honestly, there was so much work that was put into helping these toddlers become good sleepers, sleep through the night early. And so today we wanted to share with you strategies that you can do with your baby or toddler to put you on the road of having an independent sleeper who self-soothes and sleeps through the night. All of these strategies that we're gonna share work together. There is no one strategy that's better than the other. So you're definitely gonna wanna stick around for the entire video so you have all the tools in your belt that you will need to be able to help facilitate that independent sleeping. Whether your goal is sleeping through the night or self-soothing and falling asleep independently, maybe transitioning from co-sleeping, all of these strategies here will help you to accomplish that. The principles and strategies that we're going to share here today are workable strategies that are meant to meet the needs of both the children and the parents as well. Now recognize as we go into this that every child is different, and honestly every parenting style is different. So if this doesn't feel right to you, that's totally okay. We're just here to share through our experience and the research that we've done the things that have worked well for our kids and many other parents. Now, one last tidbit, we are focusing on older infants and young toddlers in this video. Now, a lot of these things are also really applicable for even younger babies, but the younger stage, especially the closer you get to a newborn, sleep does look different for them. And we'll share a whole video on the beginnings of sleep training as soon as our baby number 3 arrives. But for now, this video is intended for around 6 months and up. All right, let's get started. So as Quinn and I were preparing to be parents, I read and followed a lot of the practices in BabyWise. And then after Christian was born, we added more principles that come from taking care of babies. So between those 2 major resources and everything else in between, this is what has come from our experience in sleep training our own kids. It's kind of a mesh of all of those. Number 1, remember the why. Remember why you are doing this, because sleep training is not easy. It takes a lot of consistency, a lot of time, a lot of planning, but it is so worth it. Sleep quality affects every person in the house. And if baby's not sleeping well, chances are you and your spouse aren't sleeping well either. And maybe it's even siblings aren't sleeping well either. That can be the difference between joyful and well-rested members of your family and fatigued and cranky ones. So if you want to be the best version of yourself and for your family, you're gonna need some sleep. And same goes for your baby. And I know from experience that it is a lot harder to be emotionally available, sensitive, and responsive to your baby when you yourself are struggling. Proper rest for both you and baby can make a world of difference. Baby sleep is especially important in the first year of life because their human growth hormone is mostly released during deep sleep. And I just can't stress enough the blessing of you being able to be your best self when you've both received the gift of predictable and consistent sleep. Okay, if that is not enough of a reason why to remember, then I don't know what is. All right, now let's move on to number 2. Setting up the environment cues baby's brain saying that we are going into sleep mode. This routine and predictable environment is just the first step in helping baby's body to calm down and be able to start self-regulating and going to sleep on their own. It makes the process of self-soothing and independent sleep way easier. So this is what the ideal environment should look like for your good sleeper. Babies should have their own independent space, but most importantly, their own bed. The room should be dark, so use blackout curtains or hang a sheet over the window to block out as much light as physically possible. You want to be sure the room is also rather cool. Babies sleep better in cooler temperatures than in warmer temperatures. So in our kids' rooms, we just went ahead and closed their vents just a little bit to keep them on the cooler side. You're going to want to remove any stimulating items around your baby's bed. That includes if you have a mobile, take it off, or one of those light projectors that pop up little things on the ceiling, go ahead and put that away as well. Stimulating items do just that. They stimulate your baby. And when it is time to sleep, we want them to do just that. Sleep. So we're going to create a restful and calming environment for your baby. You're also going to want a sound machine. Now we highly recommend the Hatch Baby Rest sound machines, but a sound machine will help your baby transition between sleep cycles. So to go from one sleep cycle to the next, that white noise in the background will help them to be able to make that transition, helping them to stay asleep throughout the whole night. And I do have a link for the Hatch in the description below that'll get you 10% off your order. And with that sound machine, you want to be playing white noise or maybe some raindrops or the laundry machine. What you don't want is classical music, because classical music or lullabies are stimulating. So save those for playtime. You want your sound machine to be playing loud enough so that it sounds like you're standing by a running shower for both naps and nighttime sleep. Now, if you're looking for some top of the line baby cameras, we personally have Nanit cameras mounted above our baby's beds, and there's a couple reasons why we totally love these cameras. Number one, they not only allow you to be able to see and hear your baby in real time, they send push notifications to your phone when your baby's crying, when your toddler has moved out of their bed, and even when your baby falls asleep. With younger babies, they have wearable swaddles and motion trackers so that you can actually see their breathing and monitor their breathing in real time, and the camera will alert you if your baby stops breathing. A camera that had the ability to monitor breathing was a must-have on our list. So again, if you want a top-notch baby monitor, we highly recommend Nanit. And there is a link to the Nanit baby monitor in the description below as well. When you look at your baby's environment, you're creating the perfect space for sleep. It's dark, it's cool, it's calming, there's white noise. All of these environmental triggers tell your baby's brain that it's time to go to sleep. The next thing that you're gonna wanna do, which is our strategy number 3, is to establish a sleep routine. A sleeping routine transitions your baby from the busyness of daytime to the peacefulness of sleep time. You want to pick a couple activities that you would like to include in your routine and do the same activities in the same order every time you get ready to lay your baby down to rest. Your nighttime routine should be about 30 minutes or less in baby's room. This might include lotion and jammies, some snuggles, songs, books, whatever you want those activities to be. And don't forget setting up the environment, keeping it cool, calm, dark. We even like to turn our sound machines on while we're reading stories and singing songs to help cue baby's brain that it's time to unwind and get ready to go to sleep. For naps, you want to mimic your bedtime routine, but just shorter. Again, helping baby's brain to cue it up that it's sleep time. Our nighttime routine comes directly after bath time. We do lotion and jammies, and then in our kids' rooms, and then setting up their environment, turning on their Hatch sound machine, changing our own demeanor so that we're calmer, softer voices. We read a few books together and then snuggle our kiddos while we sing them some songs, say a prayer together as a family, and then lay our kids down to sleep. For nap time, our routine is a simple set up the environment, make sure the blackout shades are closed, the sound machine is on, share some snuggles over one song, and go to sleep. We like to keep it short and sweet for nap time because especially when your babies are young and they're taking 3, 4, 5, and 6 naps a day, ain't nobody got time for anything longer than that. All right, this next strategy is a huge contributor to helping your baby to sleep through the night. Sleeping through the night is your baby's ability to put themselves back to sleep when they wake up partially or even fully between sleep cycles. And this can only be done once they've learned to put themselves to sleep in the first place. So if you want your baby to be able to sleep through the night, they're going to need to know the skills of self-soothing in the first place. That is why strategy number 4 is to avoid sleep props. Sleep props include nursing or bottle feeding your baby to sleep, motion or vibration, baby wearing, and even co-sleeping. All of these things that are tools and very needful in some circumstances, don't get me wrong, hinder your baby's ability to self-soothe. Now, 2 positive sleep props in our book are pacifiers. The American Association of Pediatrics is actually recommending pacifiers now because of growing evidence showing that it can reduce the chances of your baby having SIDS. So numero uno, pacifier, as well as helping your child to attach to a small and special lovey. Now this might look like a small stuffed animal or a smaller, like 1 square foot blanket, but a lovey can offer added comfort when baby is learning to self-soothe. If your child doesn't have a lovey already, you can help establish a love and attachment to a lovey by holding it with you and baby while you're breastfeeding or while you're bottle feeding or even just snuggling. Incorporating that lovey into those intimate moments with you and your baby will help them to feel that love and attachment and security with that lovey. Specifically addressing the feeding or nursing your baby to sleep prop, a great way to overcome this obstacle is by putting your baby on an eat, wake, sleep cycle. That means your baby goes to sleep and right when they wake up is when they eat. And then they have their wake time where they play and interact and do all the fun things. And then right before it's baby's next nap time, you do your short sleep routine for nap and they go down for their next nap. By detaching the time that your baby is eating and your baby is sleeping, 1, you're gonna get better feedings because your baby is not as drowsy. They're more awake and more able to be more alert in taking a full feeding. And 2, you'll break that association between when I eat, then it's time to go to sleep. And no, your baby does not need topped off before they lay down for their nap. As long as your baby took a full feeding at their last feeding time, they will have plenty of calories to sustain them through their next nap. They don't need to eat right before they go to bed. If your baby is waking up in the middle of the night and is requiring a feeding of some sort in order to be able to go back to sleep, and your baby is over the age of 5-6 months, likely those feedings are a result of your baby wanting comfort rather than nutrition. Most babies over 5 months old do not need night feedings. The key is to offer the necessary calorie intake during the day so they're not needing to make those up at night. If your baby is older than that 5-6 month age range and they are getting the proper amount of calories during the day, you're gonna want to decrease the amount you offer to your baby in the middle of the night each night gradually. If you're breastfeeding, consider nursing 2 to 5 minutes less during that night feeding. And if you're bottle feeding, 1 to 2 ounces less. Do this each night until those night feedings disappear. Bottle-fed babies can be offered more ounces during the day to make up the difference. Breastfed babies naturally adjust on their own. And while it might take a little bit of time for them to adjust, they will. And whether your baby is bottle-fed or breastfed, it doesn't matter. The principles are the same. Offer the necessary amount of calories during the day and they will not need them during the night. For time periods with both of our kids, I've breastfed, I have bottle-fed breast milk, and bottle-fed formula. The sleeping principles are the same. A baby who has the proper amount of calories can sleep through the night regardless of what they're being fed. Strategy number 5 when it comes to getting your baby ready to be an independent sleeper is laying them down drowsy but still awake. This means you're not feeding your baby to sleep or rocking your baby to sleep. Absolutely making sure that baby is still awake and is falling asleep themselves in their bed. This might look like some extra songs and snuggles at first, but as your baby gets used to that routine and they get used to putting themselves to sleep independently, you will no longer need to put them down drowsy. You will be able to get to the point where you lay your child in their bed completely awake, but their brains are beginning to become relaxed because the environmental triggers from the room being set up well tells their body it's time to go to sleep. And then the sleeping routine that you've established tells their body that it's time to go to sleep. So from the time you put your baby in their bed to the time they fall asleep, in the end, may only take a few minutes. But in the beginning, you're likely gonna wanna start with putting your baby in their bed drowsy, but still awake. The next 2 strategies number 6 and 7, work together very, very closely. And strategy 6 is that you schedule your baby's sleep times appropriately. This is key, especially if you have multiple young children that are likely on different different sleep schedules, and especially if you're trying to get baby to bed by a certain time. The first thing that you're gonna wanna do is to establish a start time for the beginning of every day. Waking up at the same time every day is not just good for babies, but as you may have heard, it's good for everyone, including you. Your body and your baby's body follows a circadian rhythm that relies and thrives on consistency. So by giving your baby a consistent start time every day, you are helping your baby's body to be able to regulate and establish that circadian rhythm in a way that works naturally with the way that your baby's body wants to function. Going back to those eat, wake, sleep cycles, by establishing a start time to every day, your baby's body will begin to predict when they're going to receive their first feeding. And then as they get used to their eat, wake, sleep cycle, they will be able to anticipate the next feeding and the next and the next, helping them to regulate those natural cycles during the day. Think about it. Have you ever had a busy day where you're just go, 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 and then you suddenly realize you're starving, look down at your watch, and realize that it's because it's lunchtime? Your body knows that you eat at breakfast and lunch and dinner time, relatively close to the same times of day. That's because your body has gotten used to predictable meal times, which helps with your body's regulation. Your baby works the same way. So if any time of the day matters, it's that predictable start of the day time. So while scheduling your baby's sleep appropriately, you're definitely gonna wanna pick a consistent start time for your day. The best bedtime for your sleeper is generally going to be somewhere between 7 and 8 p.m., closer to the 7 p.m. time if possible. This helps to avoid the second wind, where your baby's body receives a surge of cortisol, which is a stress hormone and gives your baby's body an added boost of energy. It's your baby's adrenaline rush to get through the stress. So the closer you can get to that 7 o'clock mark, the better. Understanding that every child is different and has different sleep needs, growing babies and toddlers at this age need between 11 and 12 hours of sleep at night. But a word of caution, don't exceed 12 and a half hours, because then you're going to start affecting your day sleep, which then in turn affects your night sleep, and it's a roller coaster from there. This can even work for kids who are in daycare. Daycares actually tend to set up pretty good sleep environments that are predictable for your kiddos. So when you're creating your sleep schedule, just keep the daycare schedule in mind and help your baby to have consistency and routine with that schedule. Now remember, we said strategy 6 is very closely tied to strategy number 7, and that is consider your wake times. Wake times are the time that your baby wakes up from their nap or from their night sleep until the next time they go to sleep. So that includes their feeding time and includes their playing time as well. Understanding wake times are vital for making sure that your baby has the proper amount of time to move and be stimulated, while at the same time not going so long that you get a baby that's overtired. During wake times and after a feeding, you want to make sure that baby has the best opportunity possible to be able to be active and stimulated. So the length of the wake times and the activities of the wake times are both very important. Now I'll throw up a chart right here that gives you the average range of wake times for given ages. Now remember that babies are individuals. Ainsley has had significantly shorter wake times than Christian has, just because her need for sleep has been much greater than his. And if you want some good printable resources for these 10 strategies while you're sleep training your kiddo, head to our website at thecarnahanfam.com and you can get all this information in some printable handouts for yourself there. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. All right, being 100% consistent, and by 100% I mean like 99.9% consistent as you can possibly be. How confusing would it be if you were a baby and sometimes when you went to sleep, mom rocked you, and sometimes when you went to sleep, you got a song, and sometimes you were just put in your bed, and sometimes this and sometimes that? Be as consistent as possible. Consistency is the key to success. I mean, honestly, consistency is the key to success with anything. Everything comes down to being consistent. This is especially true if you're needing to retrain a child who was once already trained, if your child's going through a regression, if you're transitioning into a toddler bed and now you're having middle of the night wakings, or your child is suddenly wanting to get into bed with you. Being consistent with your child is a gift to them. It helps their body to know what to expect, so it's not as much of a guessing game. Okay, we had to move the camera. The light was just too much. It was too much. Okay, here are some common triggers that you should look out for that are common instances for needing some retraining. Getting a new sibling, transitioning into a new bed, moving to a new home, parental separation, potty training, changes in a routine, such as no longer using a pacifier, growth spurts, and especially learning a new skill. And our most common trigger for sleep regressions, traveling and family occasions. A child who was once sleep trained that is experiencing a regression should generally take about 3 to 5 days to get back on track. Now this is where the deep end of sleep training comes into play. Now remember that the message that you're always going to be conveying to your child is never, I'm abandoning you and making you do this on your own. But rather it is always, you are so loved. And when you are in your bed, it is time to sleep. You'll be there to consistently reassure your baby that you are there, loving and supporting them along the way, without rewarding unwanted and unhealthy sleep behaviors. Now remember, when you lay baby down to go to sleep, you have already started the process of setting up a great sleep foundation by setting up their environment and making it a calming and relaxing space. You have already gone through your sleep routine with them, helping to cue up their bodies and their brains to know that it's time to go to sleep. And then you set your baby down in their bed. Stand there for a minute, give them the I love yous, the good night, it's time to go to sleep. Maybe sing them one more short song at their bedside, walk out the door, and close it behind you. In the beginning, if baby is not yet used to doing this independently, likely there will be some tears. But remember, you are going to be there to help support them without reinforcing unwanted sleep behaviors. We follow Taking Care of Babies sleep recommendations of doing pop-ins every 5, 10, and 15 minutes. It is okay to allow baby to fuss in their crib for a few minutes. It is not damaging them at all, and it is definitely not conveying an I've abandoned you message. After 5 minutes, calmly return to baby's room and reassure her that you are there, that you love her, that she can do it. Maybe you give her a gentle stroke on the cheek or rub her back. Give her a little shh, 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 shh. But whatever you do, don't pick her up. Because remember, the message you're trying to convey is, you are loved. I'm here to support you. And when you are in your bed, it is time to go to sleep. Taking her out of her bed will do just the opposite. After you walk out of the room, set a 10-minute timer. If baby continues to fuss, go back in after 10 minutes and do the same thing again. The next increment is 15 minutes. Now, you don't have to stick with those times. Do whatever times make sense to you and feel right for you and your family. Remember, these strategies are just there to help your baby have healthy sleeping skills. They're not meant to be rigid. And it works the same way with your toddler. If your toddler gets out of their bed, remember, you're conveying the message of, you are loved and I'm here to support you. And when you're in your bed, you need to go to sleep. So walk your toddler back to their bed, lay them down, give them a hug and a kiss, and tell them it's time to go to sleep. It is really important that you maintain love and positivity when you're conveying this message. Harshness, yelling, threatening, and anger only lead to your child associating these routines with these negative emotions. And it's going to make sleep training, and especially independent sleep, that much more difficult. Your child can feel loved and supported and learn to independently go to sleep. The last principle is a very, very important one, and it's sleep begets sleep. Meaning, the better your child sleeps during the day, the better they're going to sleep at night. Skipping naps, having overtired kids, it doesn't give you better sleep at night. Developmentally appropriate sleep schedules, optimal wake times, and appropriate naps give your child better sleep at night. Sleep begets sleep. And we see this over and over and over with our kids. So just don't underestimate the importance of their overall sleep rather than just their night sleep. All right, thank you for traveling with me over here as we've tried to avoid the sun, for just barely touching on these strategies that can help your child become a consistent, healthy, independent sleeper, and to give that opportunity to both your child and you as a parent. I'm telling you, I wouldn't have 3 kids under 3 if they didn't sleep. But that's just me. I'm serious, I barely touched on some of these topics. If there is something that you would like me to go more in depth with, please let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, get the best sleep you can tonight, make a plan, and know that you can do this. Remember the why. Sleep for you and your baby is right around the corner. All right, before the sun intrudes anymore, we're gonna go ahead and sign off. All right, we'll see you again soon. Until next time, bye.